What's up, broadcasters? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Branding Banter, your promotional products podcast, where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Hidware USA.
I'm Meg Gerber, Director of Sales of Proforma.
And I'm Sarah Goshgarian Unruh, National Sales Manager at Stalls.
And we've got a special guest with us today. First time on Branding Banter, but a guest that we've had on the previous podcast, Chris Ruvo with ASI. Super excited to have you on to discuss today's topic. But I guess before we get into that, Chris, why don't you just give us like a really quick background of like who you are and maybe what your role is at ASI?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me. It's great to be here. My name is Chris Ruvo, as you said, with ASI Media. I head up our news and content strategy. I've been with ASI and in the industry now for, it'll be, I think, 14 years in January. My job is basically to monitor and cover issues that matter to the promotional products industry and that affect the business of our industry. And before that, I was a newspaper reporter covering crime in courts and capital murder trials and crazy stuff like that. And also, as I like to say, the hardest assignment of all was those kindergarten art class assignments I had to go cover early in the days. Those are way wilder than any of the crimes or court stuff that I had to do. So
wow, I almost feel like we could do an entire episode on that. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
I'm game. Happy to come back.
I remember that one of the last topics that we had you on for was it was post-pandemic, and we were talking about all the port congestion and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was just you do good work over there, Chris. So
thank
you for joining us.
Yeah,
and this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Alpha Broder. Alpha Broder is America's leading supplier of wholesale apparel, promotional products, and imprintable goods. Alpha Broder's products build brands, champion causes, and acknowledge achievements and offer limitless solutions. They carry more than 6,500 styles from over 60 brands of classic and trending products like wholesale t-shirts, fleece, drinkware, bags, journals, and more. Alpha Broder is empowering their customers to brand the world through market-leading service, products, and solutions. So be sure to check them out at alphabroder.com. Tell them that Branding Banter sent you. And how do we want to kick this off, guys? We're going to talk cybersecurity. There's been some stuff that's happened a lot recently. It seems to be continually happening, and so we want to kind of, I guess, point out a couple recent cases and maybe what we can do, Chris, if you talk to your the IT guy there at ASI or anything like that to sort of help prepare us, us laymen out there, how we can protect ourselves from these sort of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to jump in. Well, the first case it sounds like you're referencing there is an article that we reported on this week. It involved Cisco. That Cisco. Everybody knows who Cisco is. They had as many end clients do, a merch store where you could go and buy various Cisco branded items. Hackers reportedly based in Russia were able to infiltrate that store. They interjected in layman's terms, script onto the site. So when you're going to the checkout to buy your Cisco hoodie or hat or mug, whatever it might be, it could skim potentially your sensitive information, things like credit card numbers and things that you wouldn't want to get out there. The breach was discovered, and that forced the site to be taken offline for forget exactly how long it was, but it was for a time. Say it was less than a week, but it was several days where they had to get everything sorted out. It was not Cisco who built the site, of course. It was an industry provider who built that. So essentially, it was their responsibility for it. There was, according to Cisco, a small, and there were words, amount of users who did have some information compromised, and those people were contacted. Reportedly trying to help them. That was it in a nutshell in terms of the facts of what happened. But I think it's a really important thing to note because so many people in our industry, I mean, everybody, if you're a distributor, you're providing somebody with web stores. And if you're not, you better start soon or your business is going to have challenges. So this is something that we all touch in some ways. And it's such a cautionary tale, in my opinion.
I mean, that's almost one of the reasons to avoid online or e-commerce stores, though, because it is something that happens so frequently. And quite honestly, like the tech game is changing, not even daily. It's almost by the minute now. So it's actually really hard to stay on top of these things. So I know the Cisco store that you were talking about was, I guess, managed through one of Adobe's platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess there's a very well-known, back end,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. Not the tech guy.
Vulnerability. It's a vulnerability. Like
There you go.
I wish I had all the perfect CIO technology, but I'll put it in my simple terms. There's a vulnerability, and if you're, I guess, if you're a hacker with a little bit of wherewithal, it's actually not that hard to exploit it. And they basically, from what I understand, they go around just looking for people or people for sites and stores that have not done the recommended security update.
Mm-hmm.
So they try one. Oh, that it's like somebody going and trying, doors around the neighborhood. Oh, this person locked their door. I'm not gonna try to break into their house. I'll just go to the next house and find one that's been left open and go in and steal some stuff. So that's almost the approach here. And the reason why they've been able to have success is because providers of these stores and of course it's not just promo industry. We should make that clear. It's any kind of like web commerce platform could potentially have this vulnerability. They just keep trying those doors and get in and are able to steal information. So to your point, Jeff, it really highlights the necessity of updating your cybersecurity infrastructure constantly, especially on those client facing solutions you provide.
Yeah, it's so important. I really think there's been a huge uptick in the last 5 years, 4 years mostly. I know we've personally seen it. I think a couple of years ago when I was at SNS Activewear, this is right before we implemented all of the, know before you go type trainings, and a customer emailed me and was like, "Hey Meg, I need some help with this project." And I go, this is before I knew better, but I had replied back to him and I was like, "Is this legit?" Because back then the hackers wouldn't reply to you. Well, they did. And he was like, "Yeah, I need you to work on this project."
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to log in, my password. It took me to a landing page that looked like Microsoft. So, sometimes you click on something.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried my password. It didn't work. I was like, oh, maybe because it's not my Gmail. I don't know. I'm not an IT person. So then I used my Gmail. That didn't work. Then I used my other Gmail. That didn't work. I was like, all right, he's going to have to figure it out. Well, about a month later, I emailed the entire industry.
I remember that, Meg. I got an email from him. Yeah.
Yep. So everything got shut down. I was locked out. But I mean, I've learned so much since then. But I see it. I mean, DJ, my husband, he is cybersecurity. Like that is his job. And he's like, I got an email from Fidelity and it's saying that. I'm like, it's not them. And it's just, we're so aware of it now. But people like my parents, I'm sure they would click on something. Oh, we canceled this check from your bank. Oh my gosh, I need to click on it. There's things that you need to look for. And I don't know if you want to talk about them, Chris, but I know you always want to look for a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. You want to look for misspellings in the email address. Mm-hmm. Look at the time that it was sent over. And then are they looking for a freight forwarder? Like there's 4 just immediate things that you want to look for. But I know I did a quick search before this episode of phishing scams and cybersecurity issues in the promotional product industry. And I mean, I have about 20 different tabs open on my computer just in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it's really incredible, like just how much has happened. And just as another very quick story, we, when you do those DNA tests, 23andMe was hacked a couple years ago. Like that's insane. Your user hacked, credit card. Like I feel like all of my personal information is on.
Oh, it's out there.
You could create another Meg Gerber. Easy. They have everything.
Yeah. And well, the Social Security Administration got hacked.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's so common. And Meg, what you're referring to there is, and we'll talk about this too, because I think Jeff wanted to bring this up too, is some of these scam type approaches where you're actually interacting, or a hacker of some type is interacting with you. In the Cisco case, that's almost what makes it so spooky, is that it wasn't even an interaction. They just slid the evil code in there to steal your, and you wouldn't be any of the wiser, like, because you were having an interaction with that Cisco website. There was no telltale sign that you weren't. They were just like, it was it was almost like someone peeking in the window and just stealing your personal information or something. So that's what makes it so I guess so nasty. I'll throw this out there as by way of advice, and this could get like very much in like the again, like the CIO type weeds, and I won't go too deep, but there are recommended best practices on how to handle this. And I even wrote it down. So just bear with me half a sec here. There's a standard from the Payment Card Industry Security Standards Council. The standard is 6.43. So what you want to do, I think, if you're a distributor who's selling web store solutions to end clients, is you want to talk with whoever is your web store provider, whether that's an in-house tech team or that's like a third party that you're contracting with to do that, and make sure that they're implementing that PCI standard on any of the web stores, because that will protect you or protect those web stores from the hackers getting in on the back end there, as they did with Cisco. Yeah.
And I'm sure, as these hackers continue to find additional vulnerabilities through future updates and stuff, what is the best way to stay on top of that stuff? I mean, is there like one or two sources that you can go to try to find what those new standards are as they progress, or?
Yeah, so that organization I just mentioned, PCI, Payment Card Industry Security Standards Council, they're going to have good stuff on there. I think a lot of this, though, falls outside the realm of what I'd call something like the average salesperson is going to be able to even execute or do themselves. It's really something where you have to have dedicated professionals either in-house on handling your tech infrastructure doing that, or you need to be contracted with a legitimate provider who is doing that. And then you need to be having those discussions with them. What are you doing to stay current on cybersecurity? What kind of bulwarks and protections do you have in place? I think that would be the best advice for like the boots on the ground person who's out there just trying to keep business moving in our industry.
Okay. So that was definitely one that we wanted to discuss, because that was just a couple days ago, the whole Cisco situation. But then there was another one that you guys had published maybe a month or so ago about a distributor in the Midwest that was actually, he was able to figure out that this was a scam.
Mm-hmm.
But are you able to take us through that a little bit? Because there was somebody, I guess, that was inquiring from Ohio University. Do you want to tell that story just a bit?
Yeah, and I'll try to be brief. So we've been writing about these scams now for several years, because we feel like it's and when I say we, I mean ASI Media. We feel like it's an industry public service thing that we have to keep doing, because it's so important, because these scams are getting more sophisticated. One of you referenced in the past, somebody might say, oh, I want, a bazillion unbranded something or other, and it's written by someone who clearly English isn't their first language, and it's herky jerky, and it was easily identifiable. That's not how a lot of these scammers are approaching nowadays. They're posing as actual real world people who work at real world schools, corporations, public utilities, nonprofits. They're doctoring email addresses to look very similar to the actual email addresses of these people. And they're making legitimate requests, or seemingly legitimate requests, for products, which is what happened in the case that you're referencing, Jeff. It was basically this person, the scammer, contacted a distributor in Missouri, and they were posing as an actual employee of Ohio University. And they were saying, we need, I think it was $60,000 plus worth of reusable drinkware. They wanted the drinkware to be branded. So if you knew if it was blank, that would kind of be like a red, wow, that's a lot of, but the fact that they wanted it branded kind of made it a little tricky. They contacted through web form. They followed up with email. They even got on the phone and had a conversation and referenced other people who really did work at the university. So that's more sophisticated than just, ship, $80,000 worth of product to an offshore place like that. You're picking up right away. Like, this one had such more of an air of legitimacy, and
it's methodical.
Yeah, very. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's very much not the only instance. I mean, I if I had a ballpark it, I'd say over the last year and a half, we've had 15, 20 articles like with similar type scenarios of varying degrees of sophistication, but with more sophistication than we used to see. And some distributors sadly have been duped. We've written about a couple cases where it was over 6 figures worth of product a distributor provided and was then on the hook for, because the supplier shipped, so it's just, now insurance picked it up, but still that's a hit, so it's just something to be aware of. I would add that for some reason these scammers really like to spoof Ohio University. There's
No, it's always Ohio.
I know, I don't know what they did but like they but it's obviously
the new
not
USD, it's the new USD entryway, right? Because it's always like, I want to buy 10,000 USD.
Or it's somebody from Michigan. So
yeah, that's what, well, that was the joke, is that that it's a rival school. But anyway, that's fine. We have no evidence of that. We should say, but yeah, they use this one man's name in particular. His name's Michael Pidcock. They've used his name repeatedly, and he is a real buyer at Ohio University. And I've reached out to him, and the poor guy's like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to control it. He's an identity theft victim as well. So it's a nutty situation. It's ongoing, and it's something that distributors need to be aware of. I should add as well, it's not just Ohio University. They've spoofed real buyers from Clemson. They've spoofed real buyers from like Florida public utility companies, from Sonic, the fast food chain. So and again, using names of real people in all these instances. So it's out there. It's crazy. And if you want to talk tips, we could do.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Meg talked about one of the tips, but I think in the article, the ending of the email address was different, right? Like it was like at ohio-state.edu instead of ohio.edu as it should be. So those are things to look for. That I don't, a lot of times you have to actually click inside of the name so that way you could see what the true email address is.
Yeah.
So
I have some tips, some preventive measures for distributors, if you would like to regurgitate.
Let's hear it, Meg Herber. Give us that
let's
nerdy
go,
news.
Meg.
I'm the new Steven today. Okay, number one, you will always want to verify new clients. This should just go without saying, honestly. And it seems like in this last case, they did. They probably had them on the phone. I think that's a really good way to verify. But I think it's, that imprint obviously should have matched up through Ohio as well. But verify new clients. Always confirm the legitimacy of the buyer by contacting the organization directly using the publicly available information. That's always so important. If you get a text or an email, don't call the number back in that text or email. Go to their website, not on the link from the web or from the email, but on your own. Okay. Double check purchase orders that are sent over. Ensure that POs, email addresses, and shipping details align with what is listed on the company's official website. Be wary of freight forwarders, like I mentioned earlier. Shipping to non-official addresses is a common red flag. And then stay alert for large, quick orders. Large first-time orders with quick approval can be a sign of fraud. And I think, again, that goes without saying. We've been drilling this into everybody for years. That sense of urgency is always like, click now, before I bid due in 24 hours or whatever. It's a huge red flag. And then let's just say you do click on that, right? Chris, do you have any advice of where people should go or what people should do if they are a victim of being scammed? What's their first call?
So if the victim is a distributor, you hopefully have some kind of insurance that you could rely on. You do want to report it. I would report it to federal authorities because they try to keep track of this. You could also make the report with local law enforcement. Sometimes if your local law enforcement might refer you to elsewhere. They're saying, oh, well, this came in, this person contacted you from a Florida IP address, but you're based in, I don't know, North Dakota. So you might have to contact the department down there as well. But it's good to, if nothing else, create a record of things. And then, of course, to give any information you have over to those authorities. Like, hey, they asked me to ship, just one, for instance, there was, where the scammer wanted the person to ship to, it was like a residential apartment complex, but they were purporting to be from, so it was like nutty. So just getting those kind of details in with investigators is like important and good. And I can't say that I have evidence though that there's been like a happy resolution in instances where distributors have been scammed. There may be, but I'm not aware of it. The last I'd heard in one of the ones, they got some insurance, took care of it, but it was obviously a huge hit and not a happy thing for their premium. So.
And do you think that, or would you suggest or recommend that if you are a victim of this, that you reach out to someone at ASI or PBI to just let you guys know what's going on so you can share the story? And because us at ASI Media, we've covered this so much, we actually get people reach out all the time.
And we try to tell the story with some degree of frequency, just because, as I said before, we do think it's important just to keep this front of mind, because it is easy to, like, we're all insanely busy. I mean, you're managing how many orders in a day if you're a frontline salesperson. So much communication happens digitally. It's easy to miss. Like, to Sarah's great point before, that the email address might be off, but did you take the time to even click on it and then go to the website of the actual organization and compare it? That takes time. And some of us are moving so fast, it's understandable that you might not do that, So it's just important to always have that in the back of your mind to take that little step if you are, you are getting orders like this.
And I think it's great that you guys share, because to your point, like, people like to feel like it's like it can happen to you, right? Like, and so, and when you're least expecting it.
Yes. And to that point, Sarah, and this is not to put anybody down, but I think sometimes there's a level of arrogance, like, where people say, oh, it won't happen to me, I've spotted these. But that's what we try to harp on, is that it's gotten more sophisticated. It's not as immediately noticeable as it was, say, maybe 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely not somebody asking you to ship a bunch of blanks to Nigeria. So
right,
it's definitely much more methodical, much more thought out, much more sophisticated. So yeah, just be vigilant. And if somebody's asking you for 60,000 pieces of something, take a few minutes to do some homework.
Especially out of the blue, like, hi, we're 5 states away from you, and we want to order $80,000 worth of product from you, and we just approved this order, like, immediately. Those are all big red flag. Of course, like, if they're requesting, a lot of them they're not going to send you a check right away. Of course, they want net terms and whatnot. So if they're requesting net terms on a first order, big red flag. So
yep, I was just going to say that you don't have to offer terms to anybody. So
and something my mom always told me, she said, if it's too good to be true, it probably
is. Good advice, Mom.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks, Mom.
My mom's the best.
All right, anything else to cover on this one, or have we've pretty much got it?
I think that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in person in a few weeks, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It is just around the corner. Going to be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, this one was brought to you by Alpha Broder, America's leading supplier of wholesale apparel, promotional products, and imprintable goods. Alpha Broder's products build brands, champion causes, and acknowledge achievements, and offer limitless solutions. They carry over 6,500 styles from over 60 brands of classic and trending products like wholesale T-shirts, fleece, drinkware, bags, journals, and more. Alpha Broder is empowering their customers to brand the world through market-leading service, products, and solutions. So be sure to check them out at alphabroder.com and tell them we sent you. Until next time, guys, it's been fun. And Chris, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.